Both machines are on? Okay. A quorum is here, so this meeting of the North Whidbey Parks and Recreation District special meeting will come to order at 7:07. Present are myself, Donna Sue Holly, Secretary, having to stand in for the chairman and the vice chairman because they're not here, Commissioner Steve Hoffmeyer and Commissioner Cecil Pierce. On the agenda are two items. First, we will do insurance issue. So, are you going to talk it all on it, or shall we just have Mr. Olson do all the talking on it?
We're going to let Mr. Olson do his thing here.
Okay. Mr. Olson, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. So,
Do you need help? I can do that. Okay. Thank you, staff, sir.
you got
Appreciate
it.
it. Thank you.
Here you go.
Thank you.
In May, Erica contacted our office because the North Whidbey Parks and Recreation District insurance was being non-renewed from Endurus, a pool program. And she asked us to, she wanted to talk to various people and see what you guys could do to get some insurance coverage. And I talked to her about what had happened, why were you non-renewed, and it was some a number of claims that triggered Endurus to non-renew folks from the pool program. And then as I was talking to Erica, I said, so what are you doing now to help mitigate that? What are you doing to help stop those losses from happening? And she started to share with me that she was formerly a private investigator. She implemented some very stringent background checks, different educational programs for staff, and on it went. And I thought, man, I said, has anybody ever talked to you about the components of cost for insurance? And she said, no, what is that? And I don't know if you know, but insurance is based on three things. Can I use your whiteboard?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please. All right.
Just take the whole thing down. Just lift it.
There you go. Perfect. I'm going to give one your phenomenal markers.
Oh, okay.
Better move that. The insurance guy falls, this could be bad. Very true.
One of these days, when we're in that door, I'll pull that door. So, you've heard this. I don't want to crane your neck, but here we go. So insurance is based on a few things. Your exposure, times your claims, premium, with the North Whidbey Parks and Recreation District, with a number of companies that stopped right there. They wouldn't let me get to the third component. The third component is this, the most important thing, your story. There's nowhere in an insurance application where you can check off, they've got a great story, they've got a great history, they're doing wonderful things. You have to figure out how to talk to an underwriter about that so that they buy into what you're talking on to have them get involved in this thing. So when Erica was sharing with me everything she did, I said, all right, here's the approach. You have to have a strategy going forward to get some insurance coverage. You need to write every single bit of what you just told me in a letter, because we have to share with everybody that wants to look at you exactly what you are doing, which she did, which was great. So we took that story, which impacts a number of things. You can see with the things that she put in play, how it can minimize future claims, and just using that and going forward with that model. The other thing is that it impacts the exposure. And I don't mean the exposure of, we have a building, we have 4 cars, we take people kayaking, we teach people how to swim. I'm talking about employee morale. So that whole story plays into everything, which helps drive our premium down. The other thing that we wanted to do when we go out into the marketplace is we want to have companies competing for the business. So when we approach the companies, they know we are approaching other carriers. And we're telling everybody exactly what a phenomenal risk this is. Had some eyesores way back when. A couple things happened in recent history that we felt should have been paid for. So we had an opportunity to talk to the underwriter, and that's when things really get moving along. before we even send in applications. We're talking to people, working with them to get them on our side of the table to help us bring you guys a great program, okay? Because when you first tune in, so when you flip into the pages here, I'm sorry. That first page was marketing, the second, the other pages, sorry, Cecil, I'll keep plowing along there.
No, you're
The
fine.
first few pages are just about how wonderful we are as an agency.
You don't want us to
Everybody
read this?
Not yet.
Okay.
So our marketing strategy was to take advantage of what Erica was already putting in play and what the staff was putting in play, and we would put that in front of the insurance carriers to get them to buy into what we're talking about. Once we did that, I went out to the market. If you flip past her letter, and I'm sorry, there's one thing that I highlighted that I want you to make note of. When Erica put her letter together, she mentioned, which was great, which is just perfect. In the second paragraph, the last sentence there, it says, well, these two claims, she was talking about the two claims that happened, the employee practices claims, about the two employees that were terminated and then it turned into a lawsuit. It says, well, these two claims were questionable. They were settled for approximately $20,000 each in order to avoid litigation. So the insurance carriers settled those claims to avoid litigation, which would cost more than what the settlement was going to be. And that's important about what we're going to talk about, Who Wants You, in a bit. So the marketing results were as follows when you get by her letter. Travelers Insurance Company declined. This organization did not meet their underwriting criteria from their claims perspective. Gladfelter, another carrier that writes special districts, declined due to losses and board turnover rate. And in their, they sent me a 2-paragraph declination basically saying, sorry guys, I gotta take my paperwork apart here so I can read it all. This account had a number of recent issues that resulted in losses. The sexual molestation and employment practice lawsuits, the misappropriation of funds are examples. In addition, the board turnover is a concern. As of December 2014, the board had 7 resignations in less than 3 years. I understand they're addressing some of these issues, but I don't believe this is a good fit for our program at this time. The district appears to be unstable in a state of flux. Therefore, we will not provide a quote. So what's happening? So that was what a lot of people were saying. These folks wrote it. Carriers, when we approached them, would just immediately Google the Parks Recreation Department. Boom, all the bad stuff would pop up, and that jaded some folks. So as we continued on with the list, Liberty Mutual declined. Endurus, which is where you were, non-renewed due to losses. We went back to those folks and asked them to reconsider based on what Erica had been implementing, what was going on here. They didn't reach back out to us and say they had a board meeting in August, early August, and they never contacted us to let us know they were going to give you another shot. We talked to Epic Intermediaries. Their minimum policy premium was $150,000. We stopped right there. I went to some surplus lines carriers. Lloyd's of London, just for the directors and officers coverage for you guys, for $1 million limit, and the sexual abuse and molestation coverage that they've packaged in there at a minimal limit, for $1 million of coverage was going to be 15 grand just for that. That didn't include autos, that didn't include buildings, that didn't include general liability, didn't include umbrella, it didn't include a number of the coverages that you presently have. We then talked to CIAW, which is what I'm bringing a proposal on, and they were in. And the big thing about that was that their philosophy is very similar to what Erica was talking about. It was great. As we get into really the third page of CIAW, CIAW is another pool. They insure towns, special districts, so they're a pool program similar to Endurus, so it's almost a lateral move from a coverage standpoint and pretty similar from a pricing standpoint. So with CIAW, part of there, when we get down to program services, the big thing with CIAW, be the next page,
Tell me the third page, right?
We're getting there, yeah.
Which,
Yeah,
Program structure.
Program services, next page.
Next page. Thank you.
Next page.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Second paragraph, near the end, it says, it is the philosophy of the program to quickly settle those claims where the member is liable, but to vigorously fight the nuisance claims, even if the cost to defend is greater than the amount of the claim. So let's flip back to those employment practices claims. They would be fighting that claim as opposed to just caving and saying, gosh, it's going to cost us more than what the settlement amount is worth. Now think about that. You know, if we had a time machine and we could go backwards and you were able to fight those claims, how would that have impacted the district? You know, it's huge, okay? The other area that these guys are really big into is risk management. They will send out their loss control people. They will have recommendations to make. They have a ton of programs and people and resources to come out and teach and educate and help improve the district, minimize the chance of having a loss. That's what we're after. We want to make those guys work for us. That's the whole point. Here is the other area too that's important to note, and I'm just going to say it up front. I'm really appreciative of the fact that you contacted me. Because if you were to go out there, you wouldn't even know what you were doing that was right to be able to share that with the company, for them to even look at you to give you a quote. It would have been just throwing stuff out there and hoping. And a lot of places don't know. They figure, well, somebody will rescue me. Somebody will take care of me. There's a lot of companies out there. Well, we went through the carriers that we went through, and they immediately looked at it and said, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to take a pass at this time, you know. But with CIAW, because we were able to talk to the underwriter, share the letter, when the underwriter with the pool program will get into reinsurance, they have insurance behind them so that once you hit a certain level, the reinsurance carrier starts paying. Our underwriters, our people at CIAW, were able to talk to the reinsurance people, and when the reinsurance people had questions, because they were so intimate with what this account was, the underwriter at CIAW was right away able to answer those questions. Okay, any concerns? Because they were wobbly. And if the reinsurance carrier is wobbly, then CIAW would say, okay, we would be out. But because we did our work up front to get this thing going, she was able to answer the questions. They were comfortable in doing it. Boom, we have a quote. We have a program that is right on par with what you have with Endurus, with the exception that these guys want to fight nuisance claims. Okay, that's a big deal here. That's a big deal. And I got to say, with the work that Eric has already been doing to take care of these things and to just keep you guys out in front, being proactive, hopefully we don't see nuisance claims. I would really doubt that we will. With the other risk management things going on, we're really minimizing the chance of having a loss. Stuff happens, you know, cars bump into cars, buildings catch on fire, whatever the case might be. But big claims, employment practices claims, those types of things, we try to keep down as much as possible. So it's good. Pretty much talk about what the benefits are. When you get to the first tab, and feel free to read, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of moving along here on these things. It starts getting into the guts of the program as far as what your coverage is. So CIAW goes out and gets different reinsurance carriers. And the way this thing works, as an example with property, you have a deductible. You have a $1,000 deductible. So a car bombs through the building and damages it. So we turn the claim into CIAW. CIAW takes care of the claim. Minus your $1,000, you have a $1,000 deductible. Then up to $25,000 is on CIAW. You know, all the members are paying into this fund that takes care of these claims. Once you hit a certain threshold of all the claims that have been paid in, and it's $2 million, then the reinsurance carrier comes in. So the reason they have this big self-insured retention, if you will, this $2 million, is so that we're handling the little claims. And what winds up happening with the risk management training that they do, They're hoping again to minimize claims so that the money that's collected can be used to have a higher retention so that the insurance premium is lower, which is kind of what you want, which means your costs are lower. You know, so it works in a positive way. The more we educate, the more there's risk management involved. Ideally, fewer claims, lower premium. That's the game plan. So that's what they do. When it gets down to property coverage, again, you guys wind up having, you know, we've got the earthquake built in, discussed flood, not being too concerned about flood. So we took that out of the equation. But with you guys, where's my number here? $100 million for property coverage. So there's a $100 million basically policy covering all of the districts and everything. Okay, so that's the limit of coverage that we have. You guys are at 10 million, you know, sub-limit of that. But our buildings are really at 5.5, I believe, and you add all of that together. So, but there's adequate coverage there to take care of you. But we have our $1,000 deductible. There on the second page, when you start getting into some of the property coverages, we could read right down the line, and that's all exciting. Suffice to say, I mean, you know, transit and off-premises extension, what does that mean? That means if you're taking your property and you're driving it from here to there, that's transit. We have $1 million of coverage for that property. If you have that property sitting off premises, it's covered up to that $1 million of coverage. Business income, interruption, and extra expense. We have a $5 million limit for you, meaning, you know, you've got people that pay, if this building were destroyed in a fire or an explosion or something, or an earthquake, and there were revenues that you were dependent upon that were coming in here, that's business interruption, you'd be paid that. Let's say you had a massive swimming event scheduled for here, and this building just vaporized overnight, which we're going to say is a covered loss. What are you going to do with that event? You need to find another pool because you've got all these people coming in from across the nation. That's an extra expense. So the cost for you to have to get that other thing, that's covered under here as well. And those are things that are covered in here. Building and ordinance coverage is another one that's kind of interesting. I think it's interesting. If a building is partially destroyed, there may be an ordinance in town that says 50% of your building is destroyed, you have to tear down the other 50% that's good. That's just the way it goes. So that's coverage A. Coverage B means, well, there was good building that's now we had to tear down. Who's going to get rid of that stuff? That's debris removal. So there's money built in to take care of that debris that wasn't part of it. And let's say the codes have changed since this was built, so it costs more money to rebuild this building. There's money in there for that extra expense to get you up to the present code. So that's built in as well. Those, property coverage is super exciting. I know. But those are just some examples of different things that are in there that are important. To me anyway. It's replacement cost coverage on the buildings. So we have this thing insured for what it would cost to replace. And that's how it's worked out. The following page is, keep going, Cecil. This page is your buildings that we have scheduled and the insurance coverage on those buildings. Actually, the next two pages. This also has equipment breakdown coverage. Somebody, which is the page beyond the buildings there. An equipment breakdown coverage would cover you for the systems that are operating here within the building if they suddenly and accidentally break. Wear and tear is not covered, but if something just breaks. So that's built in. It's a big deal. Hartford underwrites that. So CAW goes out and finds carriers to cover each particular segment of exposure risk. And if we have a claim, we just run it right through CAW and they sort it out with the carrier. CAW has a $100 million limit on equipment breakdown. I don't expect we'll ever hit that, but you never know. General liability and auto coverage.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Go right ahead. Stop me at any time.
With what you said about the equipment breakdown, the $100 million, you said there's no way we'll ever reach that. That's true. So do we have to go with that amount?
Yes, that's what the program has.
Okay,
It puts the-
thank you.
that-
I
that's what
thought
that
so,
excess
but
policy is.
I didn't want to be foolish and not ask that.
That's a great question.
Okay.
So CAW has gone out and they've gotten that excess coverage
Okay.
to sit over the top of everything. And so it's not just you, but all of the members of the association.
Gotcha.
There's just a $100 million limit for that coverage.
Thank you very much.
Is the $100 million limit then for everybody in the association, or
Yep.
we get 100? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank
But
you.
your part is 10 million, for you.
Oh.
So
Okay. That's an important difference.
on the following page, which is the general liability and auto liability coverage, you have a $10 million limit.
Okay.
The Parks Department here has a $10 million limit.
Okay.
And that, really one of the biggest exposures is auto coverage. That's usually where we see more claims than anything is auto. So there's the $10 million limit for that as well. Underinsured motorists, we have coverage there for $1 million. Sexual abuse coverage, there's a sublimit in that for $1 million.
Terrorism declined by board. That's interesting.
Pardon?
Terrorism declined by board.
Oh, so
That's
that
the-
wasn't us
no,
making that,
that's
so
not-
that was
no,
somebody
it's
else.
the
That's not you, board, that was their
I
board.
just thought
Oh,
that
okay.
that was a unique thing.
It's like, I don't remember declining that, but I thought maybe it was a meeting I missed.
And then the following page is your vehicles that you have coverage on. Wrongful acts liability, which is something you folks would be concerned about as public officials. There's a $10 million limit on that. $10 million for sexual harassment, employment practices liability, and that includes third-party liability coverage. So if somebody who is swimming says, hey, the lifeguard made a pass at me, I'm not comfortable with that, that's a third party coming at us. Typically, employment practices would be claims that would be derived from an employer-employee relationship, but then there's third parties, that's also covered. So your employee does something inappropriate, or a third party does something inappropriate towards your employee tells you, hey, these people aren't right, this is incorrect, I feel uncomfortable. Now you've been notified, you've put on notice. And so we then need to deal with that third party bothering our employee. Okay? Crime coverage, we've got coverage there for employee dishonesty up to $1 million. Computer fraud for $100,000. Theft of money and securities up to $75,000. And on that, you again have $1,000 deductible. The next page is the premium summary. The total amount, the annual premium on that was $80,186.
For 15 months. It was for 15 months, right? This one is-
Yes, that's right.
What's our premium to Honduras? It's 50 something.
56.
With this, so because we're at this point in time in Honduras non-renewed on 9/1, CIAW normally they renew their policies on December 1st. So what they are doing is covering you from 9/1, so when I say $80,000, that's from 9/1/2015 to 12/1/2016. So that's 15 months. That's a 15-month policy.
So what will it be for 12 months then?
It would be
Would it be
approximately, I
really
think we figured
similar-ish?
out
64.
64, a
Ish.
little over 64.
Yeah. Which is about $9,000 more than what we're paying now.
What was 58 you said, or 56 you said, right?
56, yeah, just under.
That also includes a broker fee, which is 10%, which is already built into that 80. The
Right.
broker fee is $72.90. Then in this as well, have you got any questions on that?
Will the broker's fee be an annual thing, or is it just the one time?
That would be an annual thing.
Okay.
So there would be nothing until
We
2016.
need to know to build it into our budget.
If you'd like, we could make it a monthly thing. I'm just kidding.
I just needed to know if that was, something that was, so it was always gonna be the 64-ish, or although I know it can go up annually. Okay.
We're down
Or down.
because
Will it decrease as the mitigating factors are improved even more?
right on.
Okay.
So here's the thing. When you're with the pool program, you have to give them notice when you want to get out of the pool, okay? And you need to give them 12 months notice. So we don't wait until next year to say, hey, we're getting out of the pool. And you can always rescind it because they're already set up to renew you guys 12/1 from now to 12/1 when you renew, and then you got a year.
Oh, okay.
Well, what we are going to do is just utilize the strategy. On 11/30, we're going to let them know that you want to get out of the pool. Why? Because when you go to the next page, which is my service timeline, at some point in the near future, we would hope you would choose to accept the CIAW program. After that occurs, the risk control folks are going to come out, they'll determine when to do a survey. Then we'll come back out here and we'll talk about the recommendations that the risk control folks have made. Then we will figure out when we're going to implement those recommendations, if they come up with any recommendations. Once the policy is issued, I'm going to bring it out and we will review it and go through that, deliver it, review it. I have down here in March next year, I have a semi-annual renewal meeting. I just wanted to touch base with you, just say how things are going, what can we do to improve, what might you need in assistance, where can we go from there. Then I have a pre-renewal meeting with you 3 months before the renewal occurs. So that would be in September, since the renewal is going to be in December, okay? And at that point in time, we will be approaching other carriers to see, well, we're going to look at them and go, look, we told you we were implementing these things have been in play, losses are down, we're further away from the nightmare things that have been going on. We want you, Gladfelter, to go ahead and take a run at us now. So now we start getting market competition from the different carriers to try to get your business. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay, so that's the plan. We just use the strategy and keep, that doesn't mean we're leaving CIAW. That doesn't mean, but we want to make sure that we've got access to what the marketplace has to bear. And I think that's just a wise move. It's not hurting you, it's helping you. You're keeping everybody in the game. And that, then now, let's get to the next page. And that would start with these things, the services that CIAW brings to you. First and foremost, pre-litigation program. In talking with Erica, she has been utilizing the fact that she can use the Endurus legal team to help her when it comes to hiring, firing, process, policy, all of those areas. Critical, huge, important, and it doesn't cost anything. Nor does the CIAW pre-litigation program. So she'll be able to access that just as she has been, just with a different set of attorneys, which is great. There's no cost for that. That's part of the program. All of these things that I'm going to go through are part of the program, okay? Next page. Risk control services. As I mentioned, one of the things that will happen is CIAW will send the risk management team out. They'll assess everything and see what to do. Huge. So then they'll give us an assessment on that. As we go to the next page, they give you a ton of different solutions that you can implement and use once they've gone through and done their risk management assessment. They bring a lot. I mean, what they want to do is just try to keep losses down to non-existent. On the next page, they have a ton of educational services that you can use for your staff. And a lot of these things can be done on site, via internet. They'll send people out. They have different workshops, which is on the next page. There's like 5 pages of different workshops that they provide that are available to you to utilize.
I like
It's
those.
huge. I mean, it's just a ton of good information for the Parks District.
I want the
Can't beat it.
taser training.
Sorry.
So that is the deal
That's nice.
with CIAW and with what we found out there. Any other questions or anything?
So, is this the same as our insurance coverage from Honduras?
Very similar.
What are the are there any bad differences other than policy?
What
or
they've done,
premium?
you're in a risk management pool, just like you were with Honduras. And so there's the pluses and minuses of being in a risk management pool. You're sharing your limits with every other special district or town that's involved in the program. So if you have a claim, will there be enough money there? That's always the question. Same
Okay.
thing with Honduras, the exact same thing. And does everybody have a claim at the same time? No, not usually. Not that I've seen, to where you would exhaust the limits, but we'll talk about what happens on that. Like with Honduras, if the limits on that reinsurance policy were exhausted, so that $100 million limit is exhausted, now what? We had $101 million of loss that the reinsurance carrier was responsible for. All the members get assessed to make up for that amount of money. Okay, and so what CIAW has done is they got an actuary on staff to do the best they can to make sure that that type of a situation doesn't occur, so that they have ample reinsurance for the risks, that they have ample self-insured retentions underneath that everybody's paying into to minimize the chance of that happening. But that's the risk you've always been faced with when you were with Honduras or any risk pool, any of the cities, same thing. They're all involved in those things. So the difference between that's really the area of concern. Going out and getting private insurance, which would be all of your own limit, your own D&O coverage for $1 million, where you're paying $10,000 out of pocket for premium for $1 million, but it's all you. Or 15 or 25 if you want to have those higher limits. So that's really the area in a situation like that, which is right where you're at, right where you were with Honduras, same spot.
Okay.
I would move that we would approve the proposal that Jeff Olson has presented us from Cities Insurance Associates of Washington in the amount of $80,186. The effective date will be September 1st, 2015 to December 1st, 2016. This includes the package policy of $72,896 and the broker's fee of $7,290.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the bid from CIAW presented by Mr. Olson to provide insurance from September 1st of 2015 through December 31st of 2016. Sorry.
December 1st.
December 1st, sorry, thank you.
December 1st.
December 1st, with a total premium of $80,186 with a broker's fee of $7,290. And the package policy is $72,896. I think I got all the parts.
Yep.
It's been seconded. Any discussion?
No.
Awesome deliverance. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. That was so easy.
Thank you, by the way, very much, and Erica, thank you very much.
You know, I got to tell you, this wouldn't be possible without Erica. I am serious. If she had not done what she had done, and she did not have the background, her philosophical belief system in this thing, was right in line with what CIAW does. And right in line with any carrier to want to look at that and go, we are an underwriting company. We want to take a shot. We want to look at this deeper. Bang. We worked out beautiful. And quite frankly, if you didn't have Erica doing it, you might have found a way there, but you might not have known what you were doing right to share with people.
I
That's
would
good.
move, if I could, Madam Chair, that we do not discuss the interim position tonight, the director's search, until our regular scheduled board meeting this Thursday, when the entire board can be here to discuss it at length.
It's been moved that we delay the discussion of the director search until the regular meeting. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Any discussion? I was ready to talk about it, but you're right, with 2 other members gone that were supposed to be here,
Yeah.
good idea.
I'm too new to,
Yeah.
You're on the committee.
I know that, but still, I would prefer more input from other people. That's what I'm saying.
No, and agreed, because that's what we were going to come with that. So it has been, in fact, I typed up our thoughts. which
Yeah,
I
you
will-
did. Good, thank you. That was
No,
really
no,
good.
that was that. I also typed up our plan. Which
Okay.
I will hand out to Steve so you can look at it at your leisure.
Thank you.
And I added some thoughts to it because you weren't here. And we'll talk about it on Thursday. Oh, with approval, it's been moved and seconded that we move it. So we've had the discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. So we don't have any other business to discuss because it's not on the agenda. So
I would make a motion that we adjourn, please.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
7:43. It passes. Or we're adjourned.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
idea.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
If you've got any questions, don't sue me in card
Thank
Well,
too.
we look forward to a long and profitable
Well, we just look forward to healthy prices.